My name is Jesse Peterson. I am founder and director of a national nonprofit organization called BOND, the Brotherhood Organization of a New Destiny. And our purpose is to rebuild the family by rebuilding the man. And rebuilding the man includes every aspect of the man and of the family. And tonight we're talking about illegal immigration and the impact that it's having on our country, our society today, on the family. What I'm going to do is, because of time, I'm going to let my guests introduce themselves, and so we can get right into the program. I'm going to start with you, Juan. Just tell us your name and the organization that you represent, your position in that organization.
I represent an organization that goes by the name of One Stop Immigration Center. This is a not-for-profit, community-based organization. It's been in existence for 28 years, and I've been its executive director for the last 14.
And what is the purpose of One Stop Immigration?
We provide legal and educational services to the immigrant population of the state of California.
Okay. Tonight we're talking about illegal immigrants. What's your opinion of illegal immigrants in our country today? Do you think they should be here? Do you think, what is your opinion of that?
Well, I think that that they're an essential component of our country. I think that without them, not just the state's economy, but the entire nation's economy would be in a lot more serious trouble than we find ourselves today.
And why is that?
Well, because they basically, for quite a long time, have, through their cheap labor and other contributions, have allowed for the country to maintain levels of inflation that are rather manageable. And because a significant majority of them are never able to collect taxes that they pay into the system, billions and billions and billions of dollars have been paid into the system that are never collected, and thereby have allowed our nation to basically remain in a lot more strong standing than we would have otherwise.
Were you born here?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, you migrated here. How do you feel that they are coming in illegally?
Well, to me, that is not the crime that everybody makes it to be. I think that we follow the laws of something that we know by the name of the free market. And as I recall, as I was educated, Adam Smith and Ricardo and other great thinkers of that type of economic system taught us a long time ago that the market should not or should be allowed to basically take care of itself. And furthermore, they said that the market should be developed in a free way so that all of society would benefit from it. They didn't say anything about giving priority to commodities and capital. They said, let's give priority to people and have capital and commodities flow freely so that we can all be okay. And essentially what has happened now is that, in fact, that is what has happened. But some people who claim to believe in that system have taken it upon themselves to essentially put forth a new theory that cannot be sustained in the free market, where you're trying to stop human beings who are forced, because of this free flow of capital and commodities and services and so on and so forth, from coming to the large metropolis where capital is concentrated.
When you say some people, who are you referring to?
Well, individuals that have a rather forgetful or, prehistoric sort of thinking that haven't evolved, with the changing world. And so we have situations in the world today where you have something called the European Common Market, where you have nations bonding and coming together, where there are no restrictions to immigrants from those nations, in that particular case 12 nations, moving freely from country to country and going where they may be able to find jobs. In our situation, we just adopted something called the North American Free Trade Agreement, where we allow, once again, for capital, goods, and services to move back and forth freely, but we don't want to allow people to come into the United States, where you have the largest concentration of capital, and we expect them to stay in those countries, where we have a situation now where technology has evolved to such a level that news about the advantages of living and working in a society like the United States are obvious for all they want to see, and we're not going to be able to stop that.
Let me say this. Give me a yes or no on this, and I want to move on to Ron Prince because of time. A yes or no on this. It doesn't bother you at all that illegals are coming in, that they're breaking the law, whether they're blacks or Hispanics or whites or whatever. It doesn't bother you at all that they break the law to get here? Yes,
no, because that's not the issue. The issue is enforcement of labor laws, and then we wouldn't have that problem.
Okay. Ron Prince, tell us about you, who you're with, and how do you feel about this issue?
I'm the chairman of Save Our State, which of course was Proposition 187, the Save Our State initiative. Certainly I'm not in favor of illegal immigration, which I do not believe is responsible for the economic success of the United States of America. This is a very interesting form of revisionist history that I've been hearing. I do not think that illegal immigration benefits our state. We have the advantage now, since Prop 187 passed in 1994, the advantage of some studies that we did not have prior to that time, from some rather well-recognized organizations such as the Urban Institute, the RAND Corporation, the Public Policy Institute of California, which have pointed out that mass immigration, particularly illegal immigration, has driven down wages for blue-collar workers in the United States, predominantly Latino and black. We know from the Census Bureau that the middle class has shrunk. The middle class that used to be over 80% of the population of this country is now less than 50% of the population of the United States. This does not bode well for the future economic growth of the United States. We know that most illegals are not particularly advanced educationally, that their children are in similar situations. The dropout rate, particularly in Los Angeles City, which has a very high level of immigrant population, particularly illegal, a dropout rate that is nearly 47% of all the students in Los Angeles Unified Schools. This is an indication that California is not going to be a high-tech society in the very near future. At the moment, the American economy is flying high. That is enabling us to absorb the damages that are being done by illegal immigration. But this high-flying economy is flying in a plane without landing gear, and we do not know how much fuel is in that plane. This economy, frequently referred to as a bubble, is not going to last forever. And when we find ourselves once again on hard times, which always happens, we're going to have a much harder time because of illegal immigration.
But what does undocumented migration have to do with that? I mean, it's a person coming to this
illegal
country.
aliens.
Let me ask you the question. It's an undocumented person that come over to this country, hire himself.
It is not
or
an
herself.
undocumented person. It is an illegal alien.
No,
undocumented.
I think that working is not illegal, and I think that if you really believe
the United
in
States
the democratic
has the
principles
right,
that you seem to
that's
uphold,
not true
you wouldn't
at all.
be making the type of racist statements that you're making.
That's not racist. But
Yeah.
you are yourself a racist, sir.
No, you were the racist. You're the
you just
racist.
proved you're racist
You know what?
by bringing up the issue.
Let me ask you a question.
Let's go back. Let's talk about democracy and the people of a country passing their own laws, particularly with regard to labor. That's what a democratic country does, saying that we have certain labor laws that we think should be enforced. You referred to them earlier yourself. Now you're saying an undocumented person evidently has a right to work here regardless of those laws. You have a tendency to say one thing and then the other that suits your purpose.
What's the difference between an illegal and an undocumented?
Well, see,
Let me ask
An
Ron first, then I'll let you respond.
illegal alien is the term described in federal law for a person who is an alien from another country. Alien means simply from another country.
No, it means from another
Illegal, Please don't interrupt, sir.
Hold on just a minute.
Alien means a person in the United States who is from another country, a foreign country. That means alien. Illegal means that that alien has entered this country illegally. That's the term that we use because it's a legal term. Someone who's been to law school should understand legal terms.
I do understand that, and don't patronize me.
I'm not patronizing you. I'm telling you the truth. You should understand the legal term illegal alien.
That
is a proper term to use, not undocumented resident or any of the other propaganda terms.
What's the difference?
The difference is that, as far as I'm concerned, illegal alien is a belittling term, a racist term that is used by individuals with a prehistoric mentality.
Then change
like
the
Mr.
law, sir. That is
no,
the
hold on.
legal term.
Let me tell you.
Ron.
First of all, they're not illegal in the sense that they have broken criminal law. Okay,
Yes, they have.
It's administrative law. Okay, just because you come without a permit that admits you into a country where you're coming not to steal but for work, that doesn't make you a criminal. Since when is it that working honestly for low wages makes you a criminal?
Working honestly means you're eligible to work in the United States
something else.
according to our laws.
Let me ask this question first,
Okay.
and then we go on to the break, and I'll let you ask. When they refer to the term illegal alien, do you think that they were just talking about Hispanic or any person that enter into the country illegally?
Well, racists will always tell you, as I'm sure Mr. Prince will argue, that they really mean everyone.
Right.
But those of us that have been on the receiving end of these discriminatory practices disguised as a struggle for the survival of democracy know full well that they never meant they never referred to Germans or Australians or Canadians, undocumented persons in this country, when they talk about undocumented
We refer
persons.
to illegal Canadians as illegal aliens,
Yes,
which we
yeah,
are.
after
So
the
once
fact.
again, you've
As
said
an
something.
afterthought. As an afterthought.
Once again, you said something not true.
Well, how many
I
raids
certainly have complained.
does the INS typically conduct against Canadians or Australians or Germans or Irish or people of these nationalities?
The INS
when you
doesn't
see
conduct
when
a
you
lot of
see
raids
individuals being stopped and arrested by
When
the
was
INS
the last time you saw
and
someone
deported.
stopped by the INS? They don't
Many
do
times.
Let's do that.
I've never seen
They don't do
many
that
Anglo-looking faces.
Juan, let's do this. I want to bring Miguel in. We have just a minute, but I want to introduce you when we come back from the break. You're an innocent bystander.
Literally.
And I invited you here because I wanted a non-biased person here, an innocent bystander. What is your opinion on illegal immigrants or illegal aliens in our country, whether any race? How do you feel about what's happening?
Well, as you said, I'm a innocent bystander here. It seems like I'm in the middle of a shootout here.
Yeah.
Drive-by shootout.
Yeah.
But I kind of see both sides of the issue here, and
Meaning what?
meaning like you're asking a question whether Juan should see the people coming over as being illegal or a crime. And then I see the other issue that he's saying that the illegal aliens kind of promote the economy.
So let me ask, do you think is it breaking the law to come here illegally? And should we allow that to happen?
I believe it's illegal,
You believe? You're not sure?
but I believe that
we allow that
everybody
to
has the
happen?
right to make a living, to go anywhere and work for a living.
So do you think that America should enforce the law or just allow them to come over? Any race to come over illegally?
I think they should promote some kind of a program to where they can allow people to come and work.
But they already have a program. You can come in legally.
They make it very hard. They are I guess in a way they discriminate because there's some races that they allow them to, it's easier for them to come to this country and work.
What races?
Well, even in the Latin American countries, I believe that the Argentinians have a preference to come, whether it's because of education or trades that they have. There's always, they always give them preference. And there's other countries where the INS gives them preference.
So let me ask this again, as an innocent bystander, do you think that it's okay to break the law to get here? I mean,
I didn't say that.
Not that it's okay. Do you think America should enforce the law when people are breaking the law to come?
I've been in both sides of the coin where I see crime being committed in the streets. But I think crime is promoted by a lot of people that are benefiting from the illegal aliens being here.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I see on TV a lot of white lawyers advertising, promoting, telling the illegal aliens that if just promoting what I think it's not moral.
Let me ask again. Do you think that America should enforce the law, though, or should we just say, well, these people are looking for a place to work, and it's okay?
I believe that if they really wanted to stop the...
Can I get like a yes or no on that? Is that possible? Like, yes or no, should they enforce the law, or should they just say, well, these people are coming here to work?
I think that they should allow a different type of law, or they should set up some way of controlling.
Control. Do you think that this is a race issue or an American issue?
I really don't think that there are already enough laws that all they have to do is enforce them.
Yeah, right.
There's enough laws already in the books, but they don't enforce them.
I got the impression
and I think
from
many
Juan,
people are just getting benefit by all the allowing the illegal aliens to come in.
Miguel, let me ask. I have the impression from Juan that it's a race issue. Do you think this is a race issue or an American issue?
I don't think it's a racist.
You don't think it's
issue.
racist? No. So when you hear Juan say that there are people there that, really, I guess, if I'm wrong, correct me, they seem to be more concerned about the Hispanics coming in than they are anyone else.
There's no question about that.
No question. And you think because of that, it's a race issue?
Yeah.
How would you explain when the blacks came over from, where did they come from? Haiti. They even ran out on the ocean and ran them back before they could get here. Was that a race issue as well?
Sure.
Really?
President Clinton promised when he first ran his presidential campaign that should he become elected, he would give high priority to finding some sort of solution for Haitians so they could stay here. And then he went back on his word. And so I think that anytime you get people of color here in large numbers, there is paranoia that overtakes the mind of what should be rational thinking people, and there's a reaction which doesn't serve anybody's purpose except to confuse what are the real issues that we should be concerned about.
Let me just finish this point. Your purpose,
sir. We're going to take a break. We're going to go to the break. When I come back, Ron, I want you to respond to that. All right? We'll be back in a moment.
Jesse Peterson is the founder of BOND, the Brotherhood Organization of a New Destiny. For information, write P.O. Box 35090, Los Angeles, California 90035, or call 1-800-411-BOND.
Okay, welcome back to the program. We're talking about illegal aliens, immigration today, and we're trying to resolve this issue some kind of a way here.
I don't think we're going to resolve it today.
Well, at least get some understanding about it. Before we went to break, Juan made a point about it, and you wanted to respond to it.
Well, he seems to think that the motivating factor here is racism. I think the motivating factor is money. Organizations such as One Stop Immigration are multi-million-dollar organizations. They pay good salaries to people such as Mr. Gutierrez to promote this problem, to encourage illegal immigration. They make a great deal of money at it. It costs
totally
people.
Untrue.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You know, I've seen your 990 tax returns. I know how much money One Stop Immigration makes.
What promotes undocumented migration is the greed of corporations. They have no control whatsoever over them.
The very corporations who give money to One Stop Immigration. The very corporations that pay your salary,
40%.
Do you know how much money I make with Prop 187?
40%.
Nothing. I'm a volunteer, sir.
40%.
I don't make $100,000 a year like you do.
40%. Let me say this.
Yeah,
40% of the entire wealth of the world, the gross national product of the world, is controlled by 200 families. Now, you may be concerned about undocumented migration, individuals that don't influence events because they don't control the means through which you control the world. And you may not think that that's obscene and that it's far better to go after the peasant who comes from a village somewhere in Mexico to make an honest living here so that you can have accessible, quality agricultural products at a low price.
Pay you? No, you get your money from those very corporations to promote illegal immigration.
No, I don't promote illegal immigration.
Yes, you do.
I promote human rights. I believe in the Constitution of the United States.
It's a fraud.
Yeah.
Again, let me make the point. He had his turn. He's had more than his turn.
Make your point, yeah.
One Stop Immigration is a multi-million-dollar corporation. I have seen your tax returns,
We're a
sir.
non-profit. How can we be a corporation?
You make a great deal of money, sir. Several $million a year. I've seen your tax returns.
That's
I know
totally
how much
untrue.
Your tax returns are filed with the IRS, and they are publicly accessible.
They are.
Anyone who wants to see your 990 returns
They can
for
go
One
see
Stop
them.
Immigration
Yeah.
can see them. I have seen them. I know how many millions of dollars a year you make.
We have a
Ron, let me
that
say, I have a
corporation.
couple more questions I want to move
That,
to.
and of course, the question is, where does that money come from? Some of it comes from the government. A lot of it comes from corporations.
No,
What is the result of illegal immigration? Lower wage levels for Latinos, for blacks, especially for minorities. Are you really representing the poor, downtrodden people of the earth? You're representing the very corporations you pretend to be attacking.
That's absolutely untrue. And let me say something else.
Well, I can prove that it's true.
Why is it that there's
and
no concern?
anyone who wants to
Why
look
is
at your
it-
tax returns will know
Let
that
me
it's
ask you a
true
question.
too.
Yeah, if you want to
And
jump
they
in,
will
you
know
can.
that you're lying,
Let me ask you
sir.
a question.
Why don't you admit it? When it's a matter of
Can I
public
ask a
record,
question?
it's a
Ron,
matter of public record.
Let's
Why
do
don't
this,
you
guys.
admit it?
Let's do
me ask
this.
you a
Hold on.
question.
I want them to ask the question, short question and a short answer, because I have some more questions.
Why is it that there is no concern about labor laws being enforced by the government in this country?
And why don't you concern
That's my
yourself about
question.
it?
No, I am concerned.
I agree. I absolutely
Answer
agree.
him. Answer that point.
Yes, I
See,
would.
because if
Hold on,
labor
Ron.
because
Let
if
him-
labor laws
I know, but let him get an answer to that.
Okay, let's
because
put it
of
this
time.
way. If something were really
You're just
done,
dishonest.
if something were really done about the labor problem with illegals working here, would you support it? Because I would like
If
to
what?
see that. If there were a law offered to deal with preventing illegals from working illegally in the United States, would you support it?
No, I wouldn't support preventing. I would support
This is what-
regulating. I would support
This is what I talk
regulating
about fraud.
immigration.
You're a
Why
fraud.
are we
you're a
trying
fraud.
to put more laws in the books when we already have enough laws that are not being
Being enforced.
They're not being enforced.
Yeah.
What
I
we need,
think-
what we need isn't the right for individuals who have been harmed by this to be able to enforce the law themselves by suing.
When your parents,
If a person has lost a job to an illegal, they should be able to sue.
What would the purpose
See,
of
the economy
187?
is so good right now that anybody that is not employed right now is just because they're lazy.
that's right.
Yeah.
What was the purpose of 187?
The purpose of 187 was to discourage illegal immigration.
Not true.
It was.
Oh,
You
hold
weren't
on.
there when it was
Yeah,
written,
hold
sir.
on.
You
Just
do not
answer
know.
that
I
for
know
me.
it inside out.
And you
Hold
cannot
on.
question my motives. I know what my motives were,
I know
and
them
they
too.
are.
I know them.
You
They're
do
very
not, sir.
explicitly clear.
I know
Hold
what your
on.
motives are because I know you make a lot of money. Let's put it this way: if
Right
my
now-
motives were as you say they are, why am I volunteering my time, all these years in this effort?
Because
What
you're
was
a
the
racist.
Juan, hold on. Ron, what was the purpose
You are
of
the
what-
racist, sir, but people just don't see that yet, but they will.
Ron.
In the next century, the biggest social problem in this state is going to be racism
No, it's
from
going- it
people like
already is
you.
people like
It
you.
is Latino
Ron,
racism
let's
from
do this.
those who are
Ron,
promoting it, like
Ron
you.
Press,
Yes, sir.
What was the purpose of 187?
The purpose of 187, as I just said, was to discourage illegal immigration. Our way of doing that was to try to prevent illegal aliens from getting public benefits in the state of California. Something that the other side said, well, they're not getting public benefits in the state. We certainly knew at the time that they were. We now have legislation pending in Sacramento to make sure that illegals do qualify to get welfare and other benefits.
Well, can I give my version of
Miguel,
what?
want to jump in just
Okay.
1 minute, and then I'll come to you. Yes, sir.
I believe that anybody that comes to this country and works is contributing to this country, to the growth of this country.
Why don't you have a problem, though, with them coming in illegally?
I didn't say that.
Oh, do you
keep
have a problem-
saying that
Do you have a problem
over
with
and
that?
over, and I'm saying that they should enforce the laws.
Oh, okay, they should stop them from coming in illegally.
They should enforce the laws that are already there.
And do you feel the same way?
Yes, but let me just
know,
tell you
I-
about the purpose of 187.
Okay. You
think that the law
real
should be
purpose
enforced?
the real
Really?
purpose of 187 was to really make us, the immigrants, the modern day slaves of the economy. And that's why we came out the way we did against your very bad proposition. And I will tell you, propositions like 187 will never succeed because the spirit of the American people is such that even when you have agents of confusion like Mr. Prince and his cohorts,
And the Rand
we will still
Corporation?
stand up for what's right.
Is
Because
the Rand
what the civil rights movement...
Corporation is an agent of confusion. The very organization that has researched
I'm talking
this,
about 187.
proven that
187.
illegal
And you're very
immigration
unhappy.
reduces wages.
And you're very unhappy because
Illegal immigration
you were
lowers
unable
wages.
to make us your slaves. That's why you're unhappy.
And illegal immigration creates levels of wages at slave rates. And you'd complain about slavery. Yes, illegal
Well,
immigration
you're
is
not
the
a
new
slave.
slavery. But you're the one who's promoting it.
I have
sir.
2 minutes left.
And
in
you're
the program.
profiting from it too.
Excuse me, guys. I have 2 minutes left, and I need to get some quick answers.
Okay.
I wish we had more time. Maybe we could do it again to kind of make up. Well, not make up, but do it. One, there seem to be immigrants that are coming in today seem to have a violent attitude about them. They seem to hate America. In my office, I get a lot of phone calls from Hispanics and blacks, especially in the South Central area, who say that these people are violent, they're on drugs, they're bringing in crimes, and a lot of blacks are moving out of the community, and a lot of American Hispanics are moving out. Is that true or just a false perception?
It's a replication of what happened in other periods in our history when blacks were moving from the south to the northeast, etc. You know, when they were moving into white neighborhoods. There used to be laws in this country that precluded blacks from moving to whichever neighborhood they wanted to. You know, there was segregation in schools, etc., etc. And the argument that whites made always was that the reason had to do with the fact that, you know, blacks were violent, you know, they were lazy, they were this, they were that. Those same arguments are being made about us today. That's not true. We're hardworking, tax-paying, law-abiding human beings.
You want to respond?
And of course, illegal immigration being promoted by organizations such as One Stop Immigration, the very people who get their corporate funding to promote this, the very people who are under investigation for misuse of government funding. As we know, yes, I'm sure it's laughable to you now, but some people may be going to jail for misappropriation of those funds.
We'll wind it down. What's the solution?
The solution is to enforce the laws.
What's the solution?
Enforce the laws and stop using some of the small percentage of criminal element to blame all the Hispanics.
What's the solution?
That we don't abandon the Constitution of the United States and continue to uphold human rights for all people, not just some.
All right. You know, I am so hurt and disappointed. We are out of time. Will you guys come back? We're going to do another taping at another time. Will you guys come back and finish it?
Anytime. Sure.
Will you? Okay. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And thank you, Juan.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Ron.
Thank you, Jesse.
All right. Thanks, Miguel.
Thank you.
All right. God, I can't believe how fast that went.
Poor innocent bystander. You held your own.
Welcome to the program. My name is Jesse Peterson. I am founder and president of the Brotherhood Organization of a New Destiny, BOND. And our purpose is to rebuild the family by rebuilding the man. I've come to realize that the problem in society today is not racism, is not what most people are saying that it is, but it's because men are weak today. And as men become weak, society is destroyed. So what we're trying to do is to wake men up, bring them back to their proper state of being. And today we're talking about illegal immigration and the impact it is having on the family and on the country at large. To my left is Ron Prince. He is the author of Proposition 187. Thanks for coming in, Ron.
Thank you. Co-author, one of the authors.
Yeah, co-author. And on my right is Juan Jose Gutierrez. He is the executive director of One Stop Immigration. Thank you for coming. Thanks for coming back. Oh, this is a part 2 program, so if you missed last week, call the station and we'll repair it. You know, I really appreciate you guys coming back to help deal with this issue. Tell us about 187. I'm sure by now everybody have heard of it. What is its purpose and what's happening with it right now?
Proposition 187 was an initiative that was put on the ballot by a grassroots group of people from Orange County initially, trying to deal with the problem of illegal immigration, the negative impact certainly we have in this state, from what now we have from government estimates of over 2 million illegals in our state. We now also see the results of various studies that have shown the impact of illegal immigration reducing wage levels, especially for blue-collar workers, especially for Latino and Black blue-collar workers, which has certainly had an impact on the family and the quality of life. For middle-class Americans, the middle class now being much smaller than it was 20 years ago and 30 years ago. The middle class in the United States is now less than half the population of our country. That largely as a result of mass immigration, particularly illegal immigration, which has a more direct impact on reducing wage levels. We thought that this was a problem that needed to be dealt with, was certainly a potentially even greater problem as it continued to grow over time if it was unattended. We felt that the best way to begin dealing with the problem was with our own government, for our government to stop encouraging illegal immigration by providing benefits to people who were not in this country legally. It seemed like a fairly simple prospect to do. To us initially at the time, denying illegal aliens benefits such as welfare and other publicly funded benefits was not a particularly complicated issue. Of course, there were a lot of people on actually both sides of the issue who wanted to, for their own political purposes usually, make this a very hot button, energized issue, which it became in the 1994 election. Unfortunately, we do not have special elections just for ballot measures. They are usually tacked on to general elections where the politicians are running. And of course, the politicians ran with Proposition 187 on both sides. And unfortunately, you might say, did a great deal of harm, deflecting this away from what the real intent of the issue was, to simply discourage illegal immigration into the state of California.
Where are we now with 187?
We are still in court. We have not yet determined whether or not the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals is going to accept the mediation agreement that was proffered by the governor of California after he said that he would continue the defense and not interfere with the will of the people on their vote on 187. He changed his mind, you might say reneged on his promise, and decided not to defend Prop 187, entering into an agreement on the basis of, well, Prop 187 isn't needed in California because we have federal laws that now prevent the state from providing these kinds of benefits. And he did correctly quote a federal law in that regard, at least one part of that federal law. Unfortunately, he didn't read on to the next paragraph, which says that the states and local governments of those states may provide those benefits if they want to. And of course, this rather deceitful governor is well aware of the legislation pending in Sacramento at this moment that will provide certain benefits to illegal aliens, the very benefits specified in the law that he was quoting.
Did you say there were 2 million illegals?
There are more than 2 million illegals in this state.
In this state here in California?
According to the INS. Those are the latest estimates.
One-stop immigration, what is it, and what aspect of Ron's discussion statements that you disagree with, if any?
Well, first of all, One Stop Immigration and Educational Center is a community-based organization that has been around for almost 30 years. And we have invested our time in providing services to the immigrant community at large so that the Constitution of the United States is not trampled on by some individuals who are claiming that they know better than our forefathers and everybody since that time, who created this great nation on the basis of basically unhindered racist discrimination against immigrants wanting to come to America to find a better way of life, just like the original migrants that came across from the ocean to populate this part of the world. What I find really distasteful in terms of what Mr. Prince has just stated is that how he very, I guess you can say, attempting to be subtle, injects his racist and divisionist views to try to pin an oppressed community against another by claiming that undocumented migrants are coming to the state of California and ultimately throughout America to basically take what otherwise would be blue-collar jobs, mainly from Black and Latino workers, it's clear that the intent of individuals such as Mr. Prince, when they put out this message, is basically to divide us. I find it rather outrageous that white supremacists, in my view, from Orange County should be coming and preaching to blacks and Latinos about what's in our best interest and how we are being affected by individuals that come here to do hard work, who for the most part are law-abiding and pay their taxes.
Let me let you respond to the racist comment before I go to my next question.
I would ask Mr. Gutierrez if he knows the term slander and understands that some people can be sued for slander. Not in my case, because I really don't care. I don't really pay a lot of attention to those kinds of insults. To me, when a person has to resort to insult, it means they do not have an argument. And beyond the insult, of course, the inaccuracy of what you were attempting to talk about, even though you didn't know what you were talking about. I referred to studies that have been done. I'm sure you're aware of those studies as well.
Manipulated studies.
Please don't interrupt, sir. The studies done by the RAND Corporation, the studies done by the California Public Policy Institute, the studies done by the Urban Institute, showing exactly what I was referring to. I didn't make up the quote, I took it from them. And it says that people who come to this country illegally are helping to drive down wages, and the people who suffer from that decline in wage levels are primarily black and Latino. That is the RAND Corp. Well, then dispute it with the RAND Corporation.
Let me ask
and
this.
sir, why don't you say that the RAND Corporation are a bunch of white supremacists and the California Public Policy?
The authors of Proposition 187.
No, you were referring to my statement, and I was quoting from them. You said that I was a white supremacist and a racist because I was saying, because, and you said if we want to then back up the tape, you said because of the quote that I gave. Well, the quote didn't come from me, it came from them. So you just identified the RAND Corporation as a white supremacist?
No, I did not. I identified the authors of 187.
Is it true that 2 million illegals are coming into the state of California or here already?
That's the number here.
Is that true?
I am not certain that that number is accurate, but what I do know is that on average, roughly about 100,000 people come into this state and settle in an undocumented status. So you figure that since 1987, when the last major immigration reform law went into effect, the law known as the amnesty law, that if you calculate how many years have gone by, we have about 1.2 million plus however many individuals remaining in undocumented status could not adjust their status as a result of amnesty. I think it's fairly accurate that we could have something like that.
Because of time, what is racist about an American citizen, whether black or Hispanic or white, trying to protect their country and the citizens that are in the country? Because it is wrong that anyone should come into the country illegal.
Well, what is wrong?
What is racist about that?
What is wrong is that in the United States of America, I grew up learning that we have something called the Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights, and we cannot trample on that beautiful document for the sake of, in my opinion, quick solutions to complex problems. For example, in my view, Proposition 187, the ideologues of 187, cannot pretend not to understand that there are fascist propositions contained in it. Let me mention one such.
Real quick, because I want to ask another question.
One such fascist principle there. The law, as originally conceived and written, states that teachers, doctors, public servants would have to report to INS authorities any individual suspected of being an undocumented person. Now, the last time I checked the history books, only the Gestapo used to do that sort of stuff. Anybody that was suspicious, gypsies, Jews, et cetera, would do those things. And I don't care how much Mr. Prince and his ilk think that they're protecting our country. They're not protecting our country. They're not protecting my interests. It's interesting that he should talk and make such a big issue of how the middle class is shrinking, and he attributes that phenomena to migrants. Why is it that he's not concerned about the fact that as more time goes by, there are less people who have more wealth at the top? 200 families control 40% of the entire wealth of the world, and he's not concerned
Could I
about
respond
that.
to that?
Oh,
please?
quick response.
Since you brought up your interest, might we ask, how much are you paid as the director of One Stop Immigration?
How much
Because
am I
I'm
paid?
willing to tell you how much I'm being paid for my work with Save Our State, Proposition 187. It is zero. So might we ask
Now,
how
you're a
much are you paid?
volunteer. I'm not a volunteer.
I know, and that's why I was asking, how much are you paid for that job?
Well, I don't have a problem with revealing the amount, but I don't think that has anything to do
Well, I think it
with
clearly does.
what you were trying to do with Proposition
Because you talked about
187.
your interest, and you do have an
Right.
interest. I think your interest
And-
is your salary, and again, the money that One Stop Immigration makes.
My
again,
interest is basic human decency
the floor
and
was
justice.
handed over to me,
Okay.
so I'm allowed to make a point.
Well, don't make assumptions
since
about
you
me.
refuse, I wasn't making an assumption, I was
Yeah.
asking, but you don't want to
How do you
answer
know? How do you know what
questions.
my motivation is?
Okay, let me ask this question.
I am trying to
Right.
guess because you seem to want to hide things, sir.
I don't seem to.
Are you-
hide
That's
anything.
why I was suggesting, for example, anybody who wants to guess at what's really going on can call the Internal Revenue Service.
Yeah, sure.
Their disclosure office in Los Angeles. Ask for a copy of your tax return for
public
One Stop
record what
Immigration.
you're making?
It is a matter of public
So,
record.
can you tell us what you're making?
No, not what his salary is. I'm talking about the tax return for his organization,
What is
which
that?
is a rather large sum in the millions of dollars.
No.
I think that is perhaps your real interest, sir.
No.
Because remember, immigration is a very big business. Nationwide is a multi-billion-dollar business, and you have a rather substantial share of that pie. If
less
immigration,
than $1 million a year. I don't know how you would think that that's a substantial.
sir, I
amount.
have seen your tax returns.
Well-
I know how much
Okay, let's do this
One-Stop
because
Immigration is making.
I want to kind of
And
move
again,
on.
that's why I'm pointing out, anyone who wants to know that he is lying can simply call the IRS and ask for a copy of the tax return,
Okay.
and they will be able to get it.
I'm not lying.
Okay, let's move on. Concerning blacks and immigration, is it true that most blacks in this state voted in favor of 187?
According to exit polls, yes.
Okay.
No, that's not true. My information is that it was almost split down the middle.
No, let me just say that it is true that most blacks did vote in favor of 187.
Well, the margin going in favor of 187 was small, but I would think that if another such proposition were to again be presented, now that everybody has seen 187 for what it really is, a divisive tool in the hands of
Hold that
racists,
thought. We need to take a break. Just hold that
it will
point.
not be supported by
We're
the
going to
majority.
take a break, and we'll be back in a moment.
Jesse Peterson is the founder of Bond, the Brotherhood Organization of a New Destiny. For information, write P.O. Box 35090, Los Angeles, California 90035, or call 1-800-411-BOND.
Okay, welcome back to the program. My name is Jesse Peterson. We're talking about illegal immigration today. My guest is Ron Prince, the co-author of 187, and Juan Gutierrez, executive director of One Stop Immigration. Ron, is it true? I read somewhere, or someone told me, I could be wrong. Let me say this. I noticed that a lot of the illegals that are coming into the country today seem to have a hostility against America, and especially white America. And I read somewhere that, or maybe I saw it on film where you were, there was some type of rally you guys were having, and when they saluted the American flag, you turned away, but when they saluted the Mexican flag, you stood and proud of. Is that true or not?
Absolutely false. I mean, I'm proud of being an American, and I have made certain that at every public event that I've always attended, important event where the national anthem has been played, I have made certain that the American national anthem is played, and that people show respect for the national anthem. I think. Let me just add this.
Yeah,
I think that people, once they come here and realize the opportunities that this great nation has to offer, fall in love with America, just like all people that came before them fell in love with it. But if you're constantly rejected and attacked and persecuted as though you were a criminal, I think that that's really what creates conflict and animosity, division, and that's what we're trying to.
So there is a hostility there, then, right?
Well, there are individuals that resent, being persecuted very much.
Okay,
Yeah.
Respond to that for me, Ron.
Tell you what, I would be willing to give up my time to respond here. You must have seen the same tape that I saw a few months ago.
So I did see something like that.
Yes, where the United States national anthem is being played and he turns his back and is talking to someone
At
else.
what event?
The Mexican national anthem
what
is
event?
played. He stands at attention with his hand over his heart. So why don't we take away my answer time, and that'll give you time to run the clip that you obviously must have of Mr. Gutierrez. So we see once again, now the lies are getting so
You
comical.
must have studied Goebbels pretty well because you're a propagandist. I mean,
Insult.
here you are.
And I
talking
made up
about
the video myself.
Which one? What event?
This was the
What
march in October of 1994 against Prop 187.
We played the national anthem.
Oh yes.
And
Yes, you
we
did.
stood
Both national
full
anthems.
respect.
I
And
do
just
have
as
a
I
copy of
said,
that.
well,
Yeah, we can
then
have
play
that.
the
Yeah,
tape.
yeah, you can play.
But let me ask you this.
Oh, you might be accused of being a Goebbels too.
Let me ask this,
Not likely.
Juan. In South Central Los Angeles, there's a lot of hostility between blacks and Hispanics. The Crips and the Bloods have joined forces against the Hispanic group because blacks are feeling pushed out. It's difficult to get employment. The housing situation is really awful now in South Central LA. And a lot of blacks are mad that illegals are coming in and pushing them out. How do you feel about that?
Well, what I
in
think.
Compton, for example, the city council there are pretty much Hispanic now.
Yeah.
At Dr. King's Hospital, there's a warfare going on between blacks and Hispanic because blacks are feeling pushed out. What do you say about that?
In 1985, we went to Compton and did a march, a public one. Hadn't been there one in a long, long time. And we reached out to the African American community precisely to build bridges of understanding between two oppressed communities that have common interests. We're poor for the most part, at least in those communities. We have to work for our livelihood. We're constantly under attack. All blacks are supposed to be criminals in the minds of some people. All Latinos are supposed to be illegal. And these attitudes are exploited. And so that's where a lot of the misunderstanding comes.
White people are causing blacks to be mad at Hispanics? Are you saying
Well,
that?
not just whites. Let's not generalize. I think that what it is that where there are problems, there are individuals like Mr. Ron Prince who thrive on exploiting myths and misunderstandings to create division. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in building bridges of understanding. Sure, there's a lot of problems in South Central and in East LA and all over the place where we have
I'm not in
minority
there. I'm
communities.
just.
Let me ask you this, Ron.
Try not to laugh out loud.
In putting together 187, were there blacks involved, Hispanics involved, or was it all whites?
No,
It wasn't.
a mix.
So where is this idea coming from that it's a racist issue as opposed to an American issue?
Again, it is politicians like Mr. Gutierrez who run for office like to promote divisions among people to exploit them, just as he said. And of course, that is the Gestapo technique, is to accuse the other person of doing exactly what you're doing. What is really behind this? Again, I think it is greed. I think it is money is the principal motivation. Remember, immigration is a multi-billion-dollar business. One-Stop Immigration is a multi-million-dollar corporation. Mr. Gutierrez decries all of these terrible, wealthy people who are taking over the world, but he's doing the best he can to become one of them.
Oh, sure.
And
Run Wall Street.
on the backs of whom? Poor people are not paying his salary. Large corporations are. it raises serious questions. And again, it's getting to a point of just being comical. I don't think we're going to have a really serious conversation here.
Now, let me ask you
because not
this.
all the participants are being truthful and honest.
Let me ask you this, Ryan.
I agree.
Is it possible?
Do you really?
Yeah.
Is it possible to turn this situation around? I mean, is it too far gone that?
No, it is not. Proposition 187 clearly would pass by a slightly, at this point, larger margin than it did in 1994. And if we don't have the kind of rhetoric we had before, it would pass by an even larger margin. We will see how that goes. This issue has not gone away. Again, you cannot fool all of the people all of the time. Illegal immigration is very detrimental to our city here in Los Angeles, to our state, and to our country. If illegal immigration was so wonderful and they were paying all these billions of dollars in taxes that they weren't benefiting from, then the city of Los Angeles would have the best schools in the country as opposed to the worst. There are just too many facts of life that you cannot hide. You can with rhetoric and say, well, we're trying to outreach to everyone and we're trying to build a better world. That's not what's really going on here. Building a better world means giving people better jobs at higher paying salaries so that they can afford better schools, they can afford better homes,
But what,
and a better
what does that
quality
have to
of
do
life.
with immigrants?
We have about 4 minutes left. Juan, do you believe in the law and enforcing that law?
Absolutely.
So why do you 100% in favor of enforcing the law when people are coming into the country illegally, breaking the law? Why doesn't that bother you?
Because this is
Whether they're black or Hispanic or white
because
or
this
whatever.
because this is a country of immigrants. The greatness
No, but
of this
still they're
nation.
breaking the law to come in. That's what I'm talking about. Does that bother you at all?
But it's an administrative law. It's not a criminal law. But the way the message is
What do you mean
relayed
by
to the
administration?
Yeah. See, when you're charged with a crime, right? You're entitled to an attorney, right? In order so that the Constitution is not violated. When an undocumented migrant is arrested by the INS, since it is not considered a crime in the same sense, you are not entitled to an attorney. If you want to go to court and argue about your situation, you have to go and find an attorney and pay that attorney to have legal representation. This is just a situation where an individual comes in and does not obtain permission to come in to work.
Respond to that for me.
It's not such a big deal.
Could this perhaps be, this your conception of how the law works, would this have anything to do with why you did not pass the Bar Association, the Bar exam? Evidently you have some very serious lack of knowledge, a serious lack of knowledge of the law. Even an accountant knows more about it than you do, sir. Anyhow, yes, clearly it is a violation of the law. Every other country in the world regards the enforcement of its borders as a rather serious matter. Mexico does. But if the United States wants to do that, of course, we do not have reciprocity with other countries. We are not supposed to have a border. We are not supposed to be able to enforce our laws. We are supposed to suffer any indignity at the hands of any other nation on earth, but we cannot defend ourselves. Well, I, of course, think that we should.
But what indignities have you suffered?
Most Americans agree, and most Californians do, which is why if 187 were on the ballot, it would pass by an even larger margin than before, with a larger percentage of the Latino vote, which of course is also a larger percentage of the state of California. We will see how this plays out in the near future.
In 2 minutes, what should we do now? I mean, what should the people in California do at this point?
Well, for starters, what we can do in discussing this problem, because it is a problem, is stop insulting other people. Because when you throw out epithets of racism, of Gestapo tactics, and so on, what it means is, I don't want to discuss the issue. I don't want to have a serious discussion, truthfully, honestly, factually. I just want to insult, and maybe this thing will go away. Well, of course, the problem doesn't go away, it gets worse. We need an honest discussion, truthfully and fairly, and not with insults and slander.
What should we do at this point?
We should enforce the labor law. You know, if employers know that labor laws will be enforced and that they will be severely penalized if they don't pay what they're supposed to by law and by the going rate of the market in a given job, I think that they will start, the problem will solve itself, because people will be able to go and find the job that pays them the best, and it doesn't matter whether they're documented or not.
You know, I want to ask a quick question. We only have 1 minute.
That they're documented or not.
I noticed
But he wants the law enforced, right? Okay.
I noticed that Ron made an interesting point, is that a lot of the Hispanic leaders are using the people, and especially with the word racism. And it reminds me of the same thing that Jesse Jackson and Maxine Waters, the NAACP and others have done to black people. They have kept them down by keeping them angry and using the word racism to do that, to keep them mad. Why can't the Hispanic leaders use or do what they do without motivating anger into the people?
Well, when you're under siege, you have to respond to this sort of attacks. I mean, this is a for real thing. Hate crime is something that's real.
I'm sorry that we're out of time. I wish we had more time, but hopefully this can do something. I appreciate you tuning in. Tune in next week. Tell somebody about us. And remember, we got to rebuild the family by rebuilding the man. Have a good day. Thank you guys for coming in.
Thank you.
Actually, that sounds right.